And Easter is the time of year often associated with renewal and growth. The Catholic Diocese of Alexandria is seeing that spirit of growth firsthand, as a record-breaking number of new members are entering the church post-COVID this Easter. KALB's Julie Sober shows us why people are finding faith after the pandemic.
Faith. Some people might say that faith is something you can't see. But what if you could see the impacts of faith?
In the past 5 years, the Diocese of Alexandria saw a decrease of people entering the Catholic Church. During the pandemic, Mass attendance was low, with only 27 people entering the Catholic Church locally in 2022. Now in 2024, there's been a huge jump. Up to 92 people are planning on entering the Catholic Church in the Diocese of Alexandria this Easter. So what's changed?
Deacon Richard Mitchell, the Vice Chancellor of the Diocese of Alexandria, explained that going through difficult experiences can bring out one's faith.
Since COVID, we've seen a significant increase. As you said, 92 people are coming in this year. And I think that's for several different reasons. Mainly because, we live in a world that is very scary. With wars and with the violence in our communities, with natural disasters, floods, fires, people are reevaluating their lives. And I think that they're starting to put God into that scenario and bringing people back into the church because they're looking for answers, and our society is not giving them the answers, but we think that God has the answers.
Deacon Mitchell said that although sometimes it's hard to see the positives in the hard times, it's looking back and seeing it from the other side where you can truly understand where faith comes into play.
Yeah, it's very difficult when you're going through the disaster to see God in it, but our faith tells us those who are weary, you can find comfort in the Lord. So in those times of difficulty, if we can keep strong in faith, keep strong in prayer, we may not see God at the moment, but eventually we'll be able to look back and see how God played a significant part in our recovery.
Deacon Mitchell is one of the instructors for the Order of Christian Initiation of Adults, or OCIA. Candidates who wish to enter the Catholic Church go through a formal catechism training so that they can fully understand their faith and the Catholic beliefs before becoming a full member and being able to participate in the Church's sacraments. But why do the candidates who wish to enter the Catholic Church have to go through a formal training process? Jonathan Brooks, Director of Religious Education for St. Francis Cabrini Church and School, who also teaches OCIA, explained the importance of taking the classes to prepare for entering the church.
A non-Catholic, yes, is definitely invited to Mass to pray, but now when it comes to the reception of sacraments, they'll need to come into that program, the OCIA is that we have for the adults, that is to become a Catholic. So by doing that, they are opening themselves up. They're completely accepting all the teachings of the church and recognizing what they're doing.
Looking back, Brooks also reflected on seeing how the pandemic changed Mass attendance.
It was such a sad thing to see so many unavailable moments for Mass, and just the community seemed scattered, and it was very painful to see that. Now that we've kind of moved away from that and seeing everything kind of reopen and normalcy returning, it's awesome. God always gathers people to him. He never fails to gather those around him. It's true, he attracts all people.
People, just like KALB's very own Bennett Rowland Jr. Bennett decided to take the OCIA classes with Brooks as his instructor, and he was willing to open up with us and share his faith story as well.
For me, the Catholic faith, the interaction that I had with it always kind of had a deeper meaning to me. I thought that there was like a little more to it, right? I was going to learn a little more, right? I was going to have to give a little more. I was going to be able to receive a little more.
Bennett said the more he learns in the OCIA classes, the more he sees the impacts of faith in his daily life.
I think the older I've gotten, the more that I've seen a need for it. But it goes to like basic things, treating people right, your attitude towards everything that's happening. Coming to work, doing the best that I can, and being as fair as I can is the godly thing to do.
Bennett, along with the other candidates who are taking the OCIA program, will formally enter the Catholic Church on the Saturday Vigil Mass before Easter. There, they will be confirmed into the Church and be able to receive the sacraments. If you're curious how to get started on your own faith journey, reach out to your local pastor, as each church may have a slightly different process. In Alexandria, Julie Sober, News Channel 5, your local station.